Hey there, eighth graders. This short slide presentation is a repeat of what we're doing in class. And so for those of you who may have missed class, just want to refer back to some of the information that came out during class. We're starting with a preview of the school year, and we're looking at a big idea or theme that we'll be coming back to a lot during the course of this year. And that is what really is a tension that kind of defines life in America in a lot of ways. The concept of individual rights versus community interest, or the tension between me and we. When should people's individual rights be protected? And when do the interests of a community carry more weight? This is an issue, a big sort of theme in American history that has come up again and again and again and again, particularly in court cases, which we'll be looking at during the course of this year, including in class. And I want to just explain a little bit more what I mean by this I call it a tension, a conflict between two different ideas, two different concepts, individual rights and community interests. So I want to start with a very important point, which is that as people living in the United States, we have rights. These are rights that some say were given to us, that are natural. Our rights. Well, this year we'll be learning about what we mean by the phrase natural rights. Sometimes people talk about things called human rights. Some people call them civil rights. These are just different categories of rights. But we as individuals living in this country have rights. These rights are protected by state and national law, as well as the United States Constitution. And if you know anything about American history or American civics, you know that the idea of individual rights is one that is very closely guarded and protected in this country. In fact, you could argue that this country was in many ways built on a foundation of individual rights. Having said all that, we have in this country public and private institutions that can sometimes set rules that are designed to benefit a larger community. And that can, happen in lots of different places. We'll get into some examples in just a second. But public and private institutions can make rules that are designed to benefit a whole, a community of people, and not merely individuals. There are times when individual rights should be limited to serve community interests. Some very common examples, at an airport. One individual right that is often recognized in this country is the right to privacy. But if you've ever gone through an airport in this country, you know that you can go through a metal detector, that you can be searched, your bags can be searched. And some people would say, well, wait a minute, don't I have a right to privacy? Can they do that if I have a right to privacy? Well, the answer is no. Courts have said, look, at airports, the interests of the community of travelers carries as much weight. And so, in the interests of safety and community interests, we can, in that specific place, limit your rights. Public schools are another place where sometimes the interest of a community carries more weight. That's why students can't bring weapons to school. But there are also other examples of things that individual students and teachers cannot do in a school space because doing them could interfere with the interests of the larger community of learners and teachers. And we'll come back to that a little bit more specifically. So we have this idea. There are times when our individual rights can be limited to serve larger community interests. And this is what I want to really explore with some cases we're learning about in class, and that is the fact that it is not always easy to balance individual rights and community interests, or to decide when or if one should carry more weight than the other. If we look throughout American history, there are many examples of times where there was this delicate balance between the rights of individuals and the interests of larger communities. We're looking at a couple of cases in class that are designed to really dig into that a little bit more and see if we can unpack what we mean by that, and this idea that it's not always easy to balance the two. So these are concepts that are going to come up a lot this year. This idea of individual rights and community interests. We'll talk about it a little bit more in class with a couple of cases, and then throughout the year we will continue to do so.